Hey buddies, let's today start with the 10th chapter. 10th chapter talks about data presentation, primarily talking about visualization and graphical presentation, right? Let's start with 10.1. 10.1 is all about data visualization of financial and non-financial data. So directly pertaining to us. So this talks about the financial and the non-financial data. Now data visualization in finance can be done with the help of either bar chart, pie chart or time series graph. I guess you would have seen this all in your younger age, and you may come across it time and again. So basically data visualization simply means what? Having a look at something. So if something needs to be looked in finance specifically, that can be done with the help of bar chart, pie chart or the time series graph, right? Let's move on. Now, doing data visualization in the right way. This is a topic which is covered in your book, and I guess it carries some amount of weightage. So let's have a look at that. If data visualizations are executed improperly, they might mislead the audience or misrepresent the data. So it's very obvious if the visualization is not perfect or they are portrayed improperly or incorrectly, that will eventually lead or mislead the audience to, or it may misrepresent the data, right? As in whatever is being tried to be, whatever we are trying to convey, the message may not be clear to the audience, the receiving audience rather. So you got to make sure that the data visualization techniques that you're using, they all are executed properly, and you have to make sure that it shows the right way or the right part to the audience, and as well as you have to make sure that the data that has been given is given in an appropriate manner, right? Let's start with this. Finance professionals investigating how data visualization might assist in analytics efforts and communication should keep the following in mind. So basically this topic talks about how the finance professional should make sure how the data visualization should be conveyed to the audience, right? So there are certain things that you are supposed to keep in mind. Since it talks about visualization, how I found it easy to remember is by talking something about MTV. MTV is something which we visualize, right? We see it on TV. So I think if you remember this MTV along with O prefixed, I found it easy to remember. So you can remember these points as OMTV, right? Okay, what is O? O stands for the objective. So first of all, the professional should know the objective of whatever data he's going to present in a way that it can be visualized. So let's look into it. Identify whether information is conceptual or data driven, right? So basically you have to see whether it is theoretical or it basically contains a lots of numbers or a lot of data in it. Now this data can be either qualitative or quantitative, both, right? Then identify if the object is exploratory or declarative. These two are the most important parts of this point, that is, know the objective. If you mention these two words, that should be more than sufficient to cover this point, right? So know the objective basically helps you to identify whether the objective is exploratory or declarative. Okay, let's understand what it is. If the objective is to display income from the last quarter, then it is declarative, right? So if you have to display the income, that is the numbers from the last quarter, then that is called as declarative, because you are declaring something, right? Whatever has happened, you prepare a statement and you just declare. So that is more declarative in nature. Whereas the income increases in correlation to market spending, then objective is exploratory, right? So you're exploring things in this case. So if you're just giving the data which has already happened, that would be called as declarative. Whereas if the income is basically increasing, how with respect to the marketing spending that you're doing, then that objective becomes exploratory in nature. So know the objective talks primarily about two things. One is exploratory and declarative. Declarative talks about the data that is already happened and it's just being reproduced, whereas exploratory is something wherein they can dwell into something. How do you dwell into something? For example, you can see if the income or the revenue is in correlation with the marketing spending that you have done. So this is what the objective talks about, right? Now let's come to the second point. Second point talks about the mind, that is M. So you have to make sure you keep what in mind? You keep the audience in the mind. Audience is what? The receiver. Whosoever is using your data, they become your audience, right? So degree of detail required will depend on who's viewing the data. So that is your audience. If the data is for C-suite level, then it should be highly relevant, which can aid in decision making. Okay, let's understand what is C-suite first. C-suite is nothing but basically people who are of executive level. So when you talk about the executive level managers, these people are generally called as C-suite level people, right? Now, who all can be executive level? Since it says C, you can say a CEO, that is a chief executive officer, CFO, that is chief financial officer, or COO, for example, chief operating officer. So they all are C-suite level people, right? So basically the audience here, for example, if say it is a C-suite level, then it should be highly relevant with which they can aid in decision making, right? We know that the top level management generally tends to make decision. Since it is a C-suite level, they are the ones who will be making decision. Hence you should keep in mind the audience in this case is C-suite. So the data or the visualization of data is being done keeping them in your mind, right? That's what this talks about. But if the data pertains to line of business executive, right, as in for example the middle level or the lower level management, then you have to have a deeper insights which might help them with knowledge that influences their daily operations, right? So they are basically doing the day-to-day activity. So if you are doing for the people who are like of line of business executives, then the data should be in such a way that knowledge can influence their daily operations. Whereas if it is a C-suite level people, in that case they should be able to do proper decision making. That's what the audience in mind talks about. Now the next thing is what? OMTV. So T stands for technology, right? So basically you got to invest in the best of the technology, right? If you got to have a good visualization, obviously that can be done only by giving a best or by using the best technology, right? Now how they can actually do that? Firm shall implement ERP. ERP is what? Enterprise resource planning. I guess you would have studied that. So basically firm shall implement ERP for developing a centralized information repository. Repository is nothing but it is basically a place wherein all the data is being stored, right? All the information is stored, right? So whenever someone needs a data, they can use a repository to retrieve all the information that's required for them for their respective jobs, right? So firm shall implement ERP. So what should be used for that? When we talk about technology, we talk about ERP. What does an ERP does? ERP basically helps you in developing a centralized information repository. Fine. Now opting for tools that allows to instantly display data by dragging and dropping assets. Right? Simply in a system, if you really need to pick up something from one place and to put it in other place. For example, there is a data that you have downloaded from the system or you have collected and you just need to paste it to Excel. It's as simple as that. So if opting for tools that allow to instantly display data by dragging and dropping assets, now this can be done through charts and through graphs, and it can also help in assisting in navigation for answering queries. So if there is any question, this technology can come very handy and it will enable financial team to generate graphics, right? So this graphic way is another way of giving a good data visualization. Hence technology also that way plays a very pivotal role, right? So the one thing that you really got to remember is ERP. How does ERP help? ERP is basically helps in developing a centralized information repository. And what are the various tools? You can basically display data by dragging and dropping assets, by charts and graphs. They can also assist in navigation for answering queries and enable financial team to generate graphics, right? Finally, we talk about V. V is all about visualization, right? That is visualize. So it says improve the team's ability to visualize data, right? So the team that is involved into all these things, that will basically enhance their ability to visualize the data, right? So finding ways to incorporate user training on data visualization tools so that staff is aware of the option that the technology has to offer. So basically whosoever is giving training on that, they have to make sure that they know all the options that's available so that the same knowledge can be imparted to the staff in order to them to make the optimum utilization of it, right? Also, it is handy for the organization to recruit individuals with proficiency in data analytics and data visualization experience. So you got to make sure that whosoever is being recruited for this specific purpose, they should have a good proficiency. Proficiency means what? They should have a good skill set in data analytics, and also they should be able to offer a good data visualization experience, right? So this is what we talk about. What is this all about? This basically tells you what all finance professionals should have in order to give a good experience of data visualization. Now how do you remember this? You remember this with with an abbreviation of OMTV. O stands for the objective. In objective point, we spoke about exploratory and declarative. Second one, we talk about the audience in mind. This talks about the whether it has to be for the C-suite executive, C-suite level, or for the line of business executives. Then we talk about T, which talks about again technology, that is invest in the best technology. This can be done through ERP. And how does ERP help you? ERP helps you to maintain a centralized information repository. What are the various tools? These tools, if you opt for the tools which are very handy, they can actually help you by dragging and dropping assets and through charts and graphs. And finally, we talk about the team's ability to visualize data. Now, this can be done because if they are able to visualize properly, they would be able to train staff in a manner which can help them appropriately. And also you have to make sure as an organization to recruit individuals who have a good skill set in data analytics and a good data visualization, and they can offer a good data visualization experience, right? Okay, now let's move on to 10.2. 10.2 talks about objective and function of data presentation. Data presentation is what? Basically whatever data you have gathered or collected, you are going to reproduce or you are going to show it to the target audience. So that's what the data presentation actually talks about, right? Now, how can you make a data presentation? Certain things you will be aware of. I'll just reiterate. It can be done through dashboards. Dashboards, everyone aware of, the front of a screen. When you log in into a website, for that matter, whatever it comes in, what the immediate experience or the spontaneous experience of the website that you have in the front screen itself, that is called as your dashboard. You can do it through graphs, you can do it through infographics, through maps, through charts, through videos, and through slides, right? So these are the various ways of doing data presentation. They are all used to visualize and also comprehend data. So it's not only for the visualization of data. You may be using data for some certain purpose. So that is for what? That is for comprehending the data. So these all tools or these all mediums of data presentation will help you to visualize and comprehend data. Now, visualization of data helps the decision makers to interrelate the data to get better understanding and help in achieving the following objectives of data visualization. So how does visualization of data help? This can visualization of data basically helps the decision makers. How does it help them? It can help them to interrelate the data to get better data understanding. First of all, they can understand the data better, and it helps in achieving the following objectives of data visualization. Now, what are the basic objectives of data visualization? There are only three. First is making a better data analysis. Right? Why you need a data? So that you can analyze it in a very good way, so that it can eventually help you in good decision making. So how do you do analysis? Visual medium help analysts in decoding the business issues, so they can know whatever the issues are there in the business that are existing. And visual representation helps in increasing profits through improved analysis and business choices. So with the data, if you are able to do a proper analysis and you are able to make good business choices, this will eventually reflect where it will help you to increase your profits. That's what a better data analysis can do for you. The second thing we talk about is faster decision making. As I already told you that a better analysis can help you in good decision making. It can also help you to make good or rather faster decisions, right? So visuals are easier to process as compared to tabular form on data. It's very obvious, right? Whenever you have a look at data, it's more easier for you to recollect or memorize or recall rather than studying something or rather just reading something. So just by looking at data, it's very difficult for you to recollect. But if you have a look at something in a very visualized form, it would be very easier for you to memorize or to recollect, right? That's what this point talks about. Then it says data communicated effectively. Users may make quick decisions with fresh data insights. So basically, quick decisions, how can it be made? It can be made through fresh data insights. So whatever is happening, if you get the real-time update, it's very easier for you to make quick decisions, and it also helps in corporate growth. So it does both the job. First of all, it gives you good insights for what? Quick decisions, and this will eventually help you to grow your company. So that's what this talks about. Finally, it also helps you in analyzing the complicated data, right? First point we did was it helps you to do a good data analysis, but it also helps you to analyze good complicated data as well, right? So helps in comprehension of large quantities of data. So if there is a huge volume of data, very difficult to analyze that. So in case you have a good visualization experience for that matter, that will help you to analyze or comprehend the large quantities of data. Now benefits in identifying new data trends and faults, right? So there, the benefit is basically identifying whatever the new trends are there in the market, and if there are any faults, that can also be identified, right? These patterns, for example, you now have AI technologies or something called as ChatGPT, right? So if there is any new trend that's happening, you can pick up through that and you can make that visualization experience all the more better with the help of this ChatGPT or AI, right? So that's what it talks about, benefits in identifying the new data trends and faults. These patterns enables users to concentrate on areas that suggest red flags or progress. So if there is a check or something which is not good for the company, that is called as a red flag, right? So some problematic area, if there is exist, if you enter into that arena, that may create some kind of trouble for the organization. So that is called as a red flag. So hence these patterns enables users to concentrate on areas that suggest red flags or progress. This process propels the firm forward. Propels means they push the firm forward, or they can help in the growth of the firm, right? So the 3 points that you got to remember for what? For visualizing and comprehending data to achieve the objectives of data visualization. First of all, it helps you to make a better data analysis, it helps in faster decision making, and finally it helps you analyze the complicated data. Okay, now what are the benefits of data visualization? First of all, it enhances the effect of communication, right? So you are able to communicate in much easier way, because once you have a look at something, it's more easier for you to correlate to things, right? So hence it is basically a good way of communicating things. Communication to whom? For the receivers, or you can say the audience, and ensure most convincing data analysis outcome. So basically it can help you to do a good data analysis. So the first and foremost thing is it enhances the effect of communication for the receivers and ensure convincing data analysis outcomes. It integrate means it brings everything together. Integrates what? Communication system for all fields and across organizations, right? So for example, there are many departments in your organization. So if your communication is good, the data visualization can make sure that all the departments are viewing the same thing and they are able to work in a sync, right? And this can happen across the organizations. Now for example, if a company has different entities also, data visualization can make sure that all these organizations are again working in synchronization, right? So that's what it talks about. So the first benefit is basically it enhances the effect of communication for the receivers and it ensures most convincing data analysis outcome, right? Secondly, data visualization, interpret large volumes of data quickly and effectively. This is something we have done in the objective also. The same point is repeated here. It simply says it helps you to interpret large volumes of data quickly and effectively. It helps to decode data for measuring its impact on business and graphically updates the knowledge to internal and external audiences, right? So if you are able to interpret the large volumes of data effectively, in that case that can help you to reach out to the internal audience. Internal audience is whom? The employees of the organizations, right? Externals are the stakeholders of the organization, or the people who are buying products from you, your consumers, your customers. They all are external audiences. For that matter, even your shareholders, right? They all are your external audiences. So that way, if you are able to interpret large volumes of data quickly and effectively with the help of data visualization, they can help you to cater to the needs of the internal and the external audiences, right? Finally, data and insights facilitate decision analysis of decision makers. Again, this is something which I have done in objectives. More or less you can repeat that, just that the way it is presented is different, right? So basically it will help you to facilitate decision analysis for who make decision, the decision makers, right? Now unbiased data which are devoid of mistakes enable access to appropriate information. Means unbiased means what? Something which is not partial to anyone, that is called as unbiased, right? So whatever data is existing, that is being shown as it is, and there is no manipulation of data as such. Now if it's an unbiased data which doesn't have any kind of mistake, it can ensure that there is an access to the appropriate information and helps in maintaining the relevance of the information. So information that's been given, that is of relevance to whom? To all the audiences of the information, right? So the benefits of data visualization is basically it enhances the effect of communication for the receivers and it also ensures most convincing data analysis outcomes, right? Now it will also help you to interpret large volume of data quickly and effectively, and finally it can help you in facilitating decision analysis for decision makers, right? Now your book also tells you, according to Harvard Business Review, there are certain common errors which are made by analysts that can make data visualization unsuccessful. Rather, Harvard Business Review tells you if a data visualization is not done properly, what are its drawbacks or the cons, right? Now, first of all, you got to understand the audience, right? Now, before the incorporating data into visualization, objective should be fixed. You know what exactly you're working for. So that is basically understanding the audience. Now present large data in such a way so that it can be easily comprehended. So it should not be very complicated in nature. Whatever you're going to present, that should be easily understandable by the audience. Now comprehending by audience is based on three essential points. Now what are these three essential points? First of all, who will read it, who is the target audience, and understand material and how will they do so. So whatever data is being given to them, how they are able to comprehend that. Are words and ideas sufficient for understanding or visual cues are required? That means only ideas that you are giving, is that more than sufficient, or to make them understand in a better way, whether that should be done in a visualization method. So that is called as visual cues, right? Now specialist audience have different expectation as compared to broader public. Yes or no? If you have a specialist audience, for example, you are talking about the C-suite level people, right? So they are going to make decision making. So they are the specialist audience. That means they need the data with all the nitty-gritties. So their expectations are completely different from the outside public, because outside public won't require so much of data. Whatever is there, you can reproduce that. But if someone is going to make a decision, in that case the data they will be requiring will be more intense as compared to the people who are just reading it, right? Second point is, what is audience expectations? What do they expect and which information is most beneficial for them, right? And what is the functional role of visualization and how that will help the users, right? So basically what purpose it is trying to serve, and the data that you're giving, how much helpful that will be for the users. Now visualizations that are exploratory, we read that exploratory in the first chapter itself, should leave a scope for investigation, but visualization that are instructional should not leave such a scope. So you have to make sure that something which is exploratory, that is they can be explored, they should have a scope for investigation so that they are able to make any kind of decisions from that particular visualization, right? But only if it is instructional, as in you're just telling the standards that the company is following, then there's no such scope. So that's what it talks about. So understanding the audience, that's the first point. Okay, now the second point is setting up a clear framework. Now framework has to be designed in such a way that the visualization is properly implemented and there is a proper execution. Designer must ensure that all viewers have same interpretation of what visualization represents. So whatever data you want to convey, everyone who's seeing that should understand it in the same way, right? So two different people should not have two different opinions, or rather two different understanding of the same video that they are visualization techniques that they are watching, right? Now how is the clear framework done? Framework shall contain two things, right? First is called as semantics, and the second one is called a syntax, right? These two words, if you remember and write under this point, that should cover your point completely, right? So framework shall contain semantics and syntax within which data information is intended to be understood. Now what do you mean by semantics? Semantics simply means meaning of the words and the images employed. So if you tell the meaning of the words and the images that are specific to that topic, that is called as semantics. And what is syntax? Form or structure of communication. The way you are communicating things, that becomes your syntax. So semantics is basically meaning of the words and images employed, whereas syntax is the form or structure of the communication, right? For example, when using an icon, you use an icon, right? The element should bear resemblance to the thing it represents with size, color and position, all communicating meaning to the viewer. So whatever icon you are using, they should have a resemblance to whatever data you want to convey. How do you align it? Through proper size, color and position, and that should be able to communicate the meaning to the viewer, right? Okay, there's one more important component of framework. Ensure that the data is clean and analyzed, and analysts understand its peculiarities. You have to make sure that data is error free, right? Then only he would be able to analyze it in a proper way along with its nitty-gritties, right? So that it can eventually help him in the decision making. Understanding data can help analysts in selecting and employing an effective framework. So if the data is analyzed properly, how will that if the data is understood properly, in that case the analyst would be able to select and employ an effective framework. So the most important thing in this point is semantics and syntax. If you understand this, that's more than sufficient for you to explain the point of setting up a clear framework, right? Okay, finally, when we talk about what we have been talking about, the limitations which is defined by HBR, that is Harvard Business Review. The first one is understanding the audience, second one is setting up a clear framework, third one is what? Third one is simply telling a story, right? So if a data visualization is being done, it's as good as telling a story, right? So visualization should give viewer a story, right? So if they are able to view something, they are able to view it as a story, so that for them it is very easier for them to memorize and do the required task out of it in the way they want, right? So stories, what do? They accumulate information into a framework that can be readily recalled. Recall means they can be memorized again, or whatever you have learned, you're able to revise that, which eventually helps user in decision making or to share knowledge with the peers. So whatever data has been collected, they are able to share the knowledge with whom? With the people who are their colleagues, or to the higher authorities, that is the C-suite people. Data visualization is a great medium, especially when the data is large. So data visualization, this is something we have done, because if there is a large quantity of data, in that case data visualization plays a very pivotal role. So that's what it talks about. The objective of storytelling in the form of information visualization enable audience to see, comprehend and interpret the information. So this is the core of this point. You should be able to see, comprehend and interpret the information. That's what the telling of story is all about. Good designers are not only know how to select appropriate graph and data range, but also know how to create an engaging story using visualization. So it's one of the proficiency that a designer should carry. They should be able to tell a story in a very proper way, right? So what are the three misconceptions, or rather three drawbacks that HBR has spoken about in data visualization? One is understanding the audience. Second one is setting up a clear framework which talks about semantics and syntax, and finally you're talking about telling a story. With this we finished 10.2. Finally we come to the last topic of the day, that is 10.3. This is a very small topic but important as well. So let's have a look at this. DPA, that is data presentation architecture. Now what is this? This is basically skill. Data presentation architecture is what? It is a skill that aims to identify, find, modify, format and present data in a manner that conveys meaning and provide insights, right? So what is basically DPA? DPA basically is a skill. Skill for what? For identifying, modifying, formatting and presenting data. In what manner? So that it is able to convey meaning and also able to provide insights. Insights means some kind of knowledge, right? It blends. How basically it is done? How do you do data presentation architecture? It basically blends. Blends means it mixes the numbers, data and the statistics. So it basically mixes the numbers, data and the statistics to discover valuable information from the data and making it usable, relevant, actionable with visualization, communication, etc. Right? So how do you do it? It basically blending, as in they bring everything along together, that is the numbers, data and statistics, for what? To discover valuable information from data and making it usable, relevant and actionable with visualization, communication, etc. What is the purpose that it serves? In order to provide business intelligence solutions for attaining business goals. So this is in summation what data presentation architecture. I'll repeat that once again for your convenience. It is basically a skill that aims to identify, find, modify, format and present data. What? In a manner that conveys meaning and provide insights, right? Then what does it do? It blends the numbers, data and statistics for what? For discovering valuable information from data and making it usable, relevant and actionable with visualization, communication, etc. For what? In order to provide business intelligence solutions for attaining business goals. So eventually it is for attaining the goal or the objectives of the organization. Now this is often confused with data visualization, which is, please remember, data visualization is just an element of DPA. That is data presentation architecture. So data presentation architecture is a very broad picture, right? Data visualization is a part of data presentation architecture, right? Okay, what is the purpose or the objective of the DPA? Now basically DPA utilizes data to impart information in most efficient method. So what DPA does, DPA basically helps you to utilize data to impart or to give information how in the most efficient method or a convenient manner. Now, just to define it, it simply says providing timely and comprehensive data to each audience in clear manner so that it conveys what it intends to and can have an impact on understanding, behavior and decision. This is something we have already done. So it's just for your understanding. Don't need to break your head over this. It simply says utilize data to impart information in most efficient method. If you remember this, that's more than sufficient. Then second thing that it does is utilize data to deliver information as effectively as possible, right? First of all, it is done, it utilizes data to impart information in most efficient method. Second thing is it basically utilizes data. Whatever data has been collected, it's basically utilizing it for what? For delivering information as effectively as possible, feasible or possible. Either ways you can mention that. Minimize complexities and unwanted data and cater to details on demands and tasks of each audience. So how do you utilize data to deliver information as effectively as feasible? Because it is able to minimize the complexities or the problematic areas. Whatever data is not required, that is being cleared off. And how does it cater or how does it help? It cater to details on demand and tasks of each audience, right? Finally, we move to the scope of DPA. Now, what is the scope of DPA? First of all, it provides relevant information as per the audience, I think spelling is wrong, so it is audience, right? So as per audience requirement in each scenario. So first thing that DPA does is it provides you relevant information. Second one is obtaining proper data. It helps you to obtain proper data. How, for what? As per focus area, extensiveness, level of detail, etc. So on that basis you obtain the proper data. Third one is determining frequency of data refreshes. That means, for example, if you need a real-time data, which is very important for a decision making, in that case, just on a click of a button, if you just simply refresh it, you should be able to get that data. Now, how frequently you require, that is something which comes under the scope of DPA, right? So determining the frequency of data refreshes, this can also be called as currency of data. Please remember that. Fourth one, we talk about determining optimal presentation movement. That is, frequency of the user needs to view the data. So how frequently or how quickly do they need to have a look at the data? So that's what determining optimal presentation movement is. Finally, using apt analysis, categorization, visualization and other styles, right? So again, that's the scope of DPA. And finally, develop appropriate delivery techniques for each audience based on their job, duties, locations and technological access, right? So these points are important as far as scope of DPA is concerned. First one is to provide relevant information. Second one is obtaining proper data. Third one is determining frequency of data refreshes, also called as currency of data. Determining optimal presentation movement using apt analysis, categorization, visualization and other styles. And finally, develop appropriate delivery techniques for each audience based on their job, duties, locations and technological access, right? With this, we finished 10.3. In the next video, we'll be having a look at 10.4, right? So just run through it. I think I have tried to summarize everything in very smaller and very understandable manner so that you are able to remember and recall easily. If you like this content, please make sure you press the like button and also do subscribe to my channel. That gives me a lot of motivation, right? So happy learning. I believe your exams are coming pretty soon, so you are able to prepare well. I would make sure that your entire business data analytics is covered in a proper way and you are able to score good marks in this. That's a promise from my end, right? Thank you for watching and enjoy your learning. Thank you so much.